What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Ackle here, and of course, welcome back to each and every one of you to Barrens Chat episode 15. Holy crap, it has been 15 weeks thus far since we started this little adventure, and I imagine it's going to pick up steam quite heavily towards the War Within launch, and then as the War Within plays out, I have a feeling there's just going to be so much more, considering all of the material that we've already had for speculation thus far, and it's only been pre-patch really, and a little bit here and there, you know, bits and pieces of the actual game going live and people being able to test it and sort of leak it. But fundamentally, I have a feeling that this is going to be one of the bigger expansions. It's sort of, I get similar Legion feels. I don't know if anyone else is feeling that as well, but I feel like I felt before Legion, and that's a good feeling to have. Now, to be fair, I'm not feeling the hype that I did in Legion, but I think that is to be expected. We're going to be talking about that today as well. But how are you guys doing? SSG, how you doing, brother? Alpha Sigma, Nick, Miracos, Ronan, Talus, Raid Star, Frozen Solid, Joey, Chris, Matthew, how you guys doing? Jordan, how you doing? Very happy to have all of you here. As always, you know, Friday evenings, it's a good time. I apologize for last Friday. Couldn't be here. My dad was in town, and I was sort of hanging out with him. It was his last day here. So yeah, you know, had to miss it. But I'm back, and hopefully I don't foresee any interferences going forward. Fridays should now be pretty decent. Staka, how you doing? Okay, so how are you guys feeling? How was your week? Before we get into the speculation, I always like to just, you know, give it a couple of minutes just to have everyone sort of settle in. Hopefully you have your coffee. Hopefully, you know, you're ready for this conversation, and we can get going. Can't wait for the story to be unraveled. Oh, Speeby, you and me both. I think this is always sort of the most fucked up part of expansions. It's that end bit, you know, where there's nothing new to really discover, at least not at the moment, because there are almost definitely still things that we have not discovered in Dragonflight. The reason we haven't discovered it yet is because it doesn't seem significant. But the next expansion almost always will reveal significances of the previous expansions. This is why a lot of the speculation we did just this year was about Shadowlands, because in Shadowlands, a lot of things didn't really matter, and most of the things that happened there didn't seem like it should matter, but Dragonflight revealed a lot of the things in Shadowlands actually do kind of matter, and we should probably pay more attention to those things. And the War Within also in some ways revealed some of the stuff in Shadowlands may actually be very, very important. So we're probably going to go back and visit Dragonflight at some point. But for now, there is nothing new to discover in Dragonflight, and the War Within has not yet launched, so we have not been able to discover anything there yet. And this is always the suckiest part, because this is sort of the part where you're just sort of waiting and going, oh, can I get anything? Like, you know that meme with Dave Chappelle and the white powder around his mouth? That's pretty much how we feel as speculation Andes and sort of lore junkies. You know, you're just like, just a little bit. You give me a little bit, but it's coming. It's coming. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the one. Claire, how you doing? I'm loving that Shadowlands is coming to the forefront story-wise. Claire, I think Shadowlands. I mean, if we can take a quick detour, I've said this before, and this is a hill that I will absolutely die on. Shadowlands, from a lore perspective, was really well done. It's the narrative of Shadowlands that fell apart. But the lore of Shadowlands, in order to explain this, because I know there's going to be people who don't quite understand it, lore is what we would refer to as world building, right? So lore...
V.1 mentions that when the cosmos was formed, the light sent out shards of light into reality and suffused myriad worlds, causing life to form on those planets. Do you think the big crystal in TWW is one of those?
Ryan, thanks for the $20. Really appreciate you, bro. I do think Baladar I think the crystal's name is Balador. I do think Balador is a light crystal. And I have a theory that I'll get into probably today. I've been spending a lot of time in the pre-patch, and I've basically been building mind maps of all of the quests and the dialogue and stuff of that nature. I am now more firmly of the belief than ever before that the Radiant song that people are hearing is from Balador. That name, the crystal just keeps escaping me. Is it a little low? I can turn that up. Hold up. I can turn it up. Sorry. Hopefully that's better now. Okay, so TTS should come through. If you want to send TTS messages, just super chat or donate. Either one of those will trigger a TTS message that the fucked up robot voice will read out. Hopefully. If all things work as intended. And of course, all support is always very, very much appreciated. That being said, before we keep going, let me quickly say, now is the time to become a patron. By the way, just $1 a month helps keep the channel free from sponsorships. But if you sub for $5 by the end of the month, on the 25th of this month, $5, on the 25th of this month, I will choose one random person that gets $50. And I will just keep doing that every single month. Once we get to 100 people at $5, I will do 2 people. Let's do $100 per person. So you can just make some money, right? I mean, if we get to 1,000, I'll give away a fucking graphics card or something every month, right? I'll make it work. I'll make sure that you get some gifts and stuff so you can build a PC or something to that effect. I'll keep going up in prices because I don't know what else to do, right? I don't know what else to do. And yes, it is kind of gambling, but also I don't know what else to do with the Patreon. It's there. There's some people giving on it, and I don't have the time to make Patreon content. I just don't. I'm sorry, guys. I have 2 channels that I'm running, actually 3 because I have a podcast channel now as well, and I have the live stream, and I have videos that I edit myself, and it's a mess. So, you know, if you want some free shit, or maybe to try and get some free shit, go over to Patreon and gift $5 and you'll get free shit. Hopefully. I'll do the draw live, all right? Just so that people don't think that I'm fucking people over or it's a scam like Mr. Beast's giveaways. I'll do the draw every single month on video so you can see, right? Fair? Fair. Okay, now, Ryan, on to you, sir. Again, thank you for the $20. Really appreciate you. I think Balador, the crystal, is of the light. I also now think more than ever before, the Radiant song is of the light, right? So I think it's from the same place, from this crystal, because of Locust Walker, and Locust Walker stating that this is the exact same song that their planet heard before it was overtaken by the Void. Now, their planet did not have an old god on it. There's a whole bunch of speculation that's going to go into this, but I'll get into it, right? This is going to be a full-blown topic, but just their planet did not have an old god on it. There's no evidence that old gods were on it. This means that it could not have been old god corruption. This means that Baladris, or the crystals like Baladris, could not have been sent to planets with old gods on it. This means that the light did very much exactly what the Void did. Sent its essence into the world. To maybe infect, or to maybe keep an eye, or to, I don't know, do something. Maybe it is just a portal, a gateway for the army of the light. But fundamentally, I believe that Baladris, or Balador, is a crystal of the light. I absolutely fundamentally agree with that. Mirrored Worlds. I'm not entirely sure if it has something to do with light and the reality fusing into one another. That I can't really say, Ryan, although... No, I don't think light forms life. I don't think life comes from Balador either. That's not where I think life comes from. I still believe life comes from Azeroth at its core. But I do think the light, much like the Void, has plans. Because remember, unlike the void, the light also sees the future. The only difference between the light and the void is that the light believes in a single truth. So they believe that one truth, one future is the true future. All other futures are false. The void doesn't believe that. They believe all futures are true. So the light would also have seen what the void was going to do in the future, and the light would have taken steps to mitigate that. And I think Baladar is that mitigation. At its core, that's what I believe. If I did not answer your question, feel free to tell me. But I am going to do it in a lot more detail later in the stream. I have a whole segment planned on things that I think I have uncovered about the Void just in the pre-patch, and some of my random thoughts around stuff of the Void. But yeah, fundamentally, there's a lot of things. The true timeline, yeah, the true timeline is a bit of a joke, but, you know, it exists, so I guess we should just play around with it for now, at the very least. Now, have you guys been enjoying the pre-patch? Before we get into speculation, let's just quickly talk about, have you guys been enjoying the pre-patch? Not really. It's meh. No. And there's no so buggy. No. Yes, but I skipped the F. No. F is to the 11th degree. I have experienced the exact same thing. Just lag and lag and lag. Because, and I Blizzard, if you guys are watching any of my streams ever again, and I'm sorry for the names that I called you, Ian, but I felt it was deserved, and you learned from it, so clearly I did my job as a content creator, calling you out and holding you to account. But if you are watching my content, for the love of fuck, would you stop making content that requires the entire fucking world to partake in it in your engine? Please, I beg you. Could we get some phasing going and maybe limit the amount of people that can go into a single phase? It's ridiculous. It's not fun. I don't understand why we keep doing this. I don't understand why do we keep doing this. Every single fucking patch, you have to do this nonsense where you have these giant world events. And I get that on paper, it seems like this is going to be a good idea. I remember when Time Rifts came out, and I was super, super hyped for Time Rifts until I did my first Time Rift, and I was like, yeah, all right, someone just come punch me in the balls. I think it will be more enjoyable. This is not a fun experience. Your engine cannot do this. No one enjoys standing around like a fucking knob because the engine is taking a fucking break. It's just not fun. So please stop doing this. And yes, I know that there's been patches and patches and patches that have sort of alleviated some of the lag, although I literally was just in one before the live stream, and it was still laggy as fuck. It was still laggy. It's not as bad, but it's still laggy. The thing is, all right, I get what you're trying to go for, but those days are over. The way you've optimized the game, the way you've built the game, it just doesn't work. So can we please get instanced bosses? Make it maximum 10, maybe 15, maybe 20 people at the most. Phase that shit, instance that shit, and let us be able to at least play the fucking game. I don't want to stand around and everything's just frozen and suddenly the boss dies. I'm like, oh, wait, did I do anything? Did I even tag this? I don't know. I couldn't see anything. I was just here for like 5 minutes standing around doing nothing. So yeah, the other problem that I have with the pre-patch is seems like a lot of waiting. I don't know if that's been fixed though. I only literally did one today as I logged on. It was going. So I'm not sure if that's been fixed. Is the waiting still a problem? Because I saw a lot of people on Twitter talking about this. I experienced a little bit of it. To be fair, I haven't no-lifed the pre-patch, but it seems like people were waiting for crazy amounts of time just to even get it going, which I genuinely think that should never have even been there. The fact that it's fixed is a good thing, but I'm sorry, Blizzard, what are you doing? Who the fuck came up with a pre-patch that required players to wait for like an hour before they can do it? Why would that be? Like, I don't understand why that would be a thing. Like, why isn't there someone that says to the person coming up with this idea, you know what, players actually, players tend to no-life these things a little, so how about we lower that timer significantly? Or maybe remove the cooldown timer entirely. It genuinely just feels like such a bad decision, right? But overall, I think my biggest takeaway from the pre-patch, and it should be said because I have been saying it for a while now, pre-patches no longer feel the way that they used to. And maybe I am just getting old. Maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But fundamentally, I remember a time where pre-patches was super fun. You know, pre-patches really went out of their way to be super cool, super fun, super engaging. Just a really fun experience. Whereas it's kind of starting to feel just more of the same. You know, like every pre-patch is just sort of the same thing. Over and over again, kill big boss, wait for more boss, kill big boss, wait for more boss, kill big boss, wait for more boss. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure that I think the reason I'm not judging Blizzard for this, and the reason I would never judge Blizzard for this, is I'm sure that there are players for whom this is their preferred playstyle. They like the fact that they can just kill bosses, get currency, and buy stuff with their currency. For me, as a bit more of a lore nerd, I thought the pre-patch storyline was fucking fire. I just want to go out on a limb and say, job well done on that pre-patch storyline. I thought the voice acting was absolutely on point. I thought the pacing was really good. At no point did I have to kill an insane amount of mobs. It was confront 3 memories and collect 3 memories. And I thought that was a nice amount. It wasn't like, oh, kill 20 of this and 10 of this and 50 of this. So I felt the pacing was really good. I also like the fact that it sort of allowed me to connect with Illyria again. Even though I've done all of these things and I know her story, it was nice to be able to connect with her again. But now that's over. You know? And while I love the lore reveals and so on and so forth, there's just not much for me to do now in the pre-patch because I couldn't give 2 fucks about anything that you can buy with that currency. I will not buy anything with that currency. I will not even collect that currency. I will probably do the event when I'm bored and I have nothing else to do and I'm watching podcasts about League of Legends because Fnatic sucks dick at the moment. Sorry. I shouldn't get angry at my sports team. But yeah, when I'm watching podcasts, I will probably just do that for fun. But yeah, I'm like, for me, this is not a pre-patch that I enjoy. But then again, maybe no pre-patch will be a pre-patch I enjoy. Yeah, Frozen Solid, don't bring it up, please. I don't want to talk about that. Okay, Kudzai, what I mean by engine update. Some areas still look like 2004. Old the game is by now, surely that should have been addressed. Kudzai... So first and foremost, the problem is not an engine problem. I have a video out about that, so I won't go into detail about that right now. But you can find the video on my channel where I explain exactly why World of Warcraft looks the way that it does, why the engine is the way that it is, and why there are so much lag in World of Warcraft, why sometimes it seems like the engines are struggling. It's not the engine. It's the way World of Warcraft was built from the ground up, with a crap ton of spaghetti code in the middle of that is causing all of these issues. It's basically, as you build systems on top of systems, those systems can sometimes create feedback loops and slow down the entire fucking process. The problem is, trying to unravel those systems will require a complete rebuild of the great game from the ground up, because a lot of those systems are intertwined with other systems that have nothing to do with the old system. So it's sort of like you basically have to undo the whole thing and rebuild it. From that perspective, Blizzard is probably looking at this going, that's not fucking worth. We're not doing that. We'll just make it. And there are ways around it. As I said at the beginning of this discussion, all Blizzard needs to do is take bosses and put them in phasing. You do that, and all these problems go away. As soon as you engage a boss, you go into a different phase, and bam, with 20 other people, and that's it. No questions asked, no harm, no foul. I think that's perfect. So yeah, for me personally, I don't have too much of a problem with that. I wanted to share something with you guys because, I thought it was a conversation that, in my opinion, should be had. It's a conversation that I think has been playing itself out over the course of, really the last few years. So, to give you guys a little bit of a backdrop of this story, I was always under the impression that people loved Wowhead. I just assumed it, because Wowhead has been around pretty much since the beginning of time. Wowhead is Wowhead, right? It's where most people get their WoW news. And then, about a year ago, I started to see a lot of campaigns against Wowhead. Like, a lot of people apparently despise that company, or at least the people that run Wowhead. I see it almost every single time, where Wowhead will continuously put out things that people really hate them for. They basically ruin the game with all of their guides. I've seen people complaining about their guides and the way they write their guides, claiming that they are actually one of the worst companies out there when it comes to this kind of stuff. But things have really gotten weird now. So we have Josh Corbett. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I have never watched anything from Josh. And Josh, I apologize for that. But Josh Corbett apparently owns a podcast. He's the owner of a podcast for World of Warcraft, I'm assuming. And he met up with Classic developers, WoW Classic developers. And then Wowhead decided to take his entire interview with these people and basically transcribe the entire fucking thing. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Right off the bat, I think this is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting. As a website, you have fucking no right to take someone else's hard work, the 2 hours or an hour that this person spent, talking to these developers, then, the hours that it took to prepare for this interview. And what you did was you basically stole his interview and transcribed the entire fucking thing. I would have had no problem if Wowhead if it was just this, right? So they just said, hey, there's a new interview and link to interview. Congratulations. No problemo. But this is fucking bullshit. This is just a little bit of a step too far. And the problem this is a step too far is because what you've done is effectively stole viewers. You didn't react to this. You didn't write an article about his podcast. You didn't explain, your thoughts or feelings on his podcast. You literally took his fucking podcast, right? You took his podcast and you transcribed it. So that now people can literally just quickly read through this. Oh, Blackrock Mountain, great. Molten Core, great. Classes, great. Professions, great. What do I want to read? Great. I can move on. No questions asked. And of course, kudos to Josh. he called them out, and he was like, Wowhead is a leeching website run by absolute scumbags without a creative bone in their bodies. This will get some hate, but only by fuckwits. I like when people do that. But this is not a shout out or a spotlight for a creator. They've just written a 1,564 word article basically transcribing my interview. This is literally true. This is not a shout out. This is not a spotlight. Have you guys seen them spotlight Taliesin and Evertal? Have you seen them spotlight Noble? They don't transcribe the episode. They just link the episode for their favorite content creators, you know, so that people can go watch them and support them. This is bullshit, is what this is. But now you have, of course, in the comment section, people are a little bit peeved, but not at Wowhead. People are peeved at Josh. There are actual comments here of people who... So you have Zuhini here, for example. I would never watch your shitty videos, but I would and do use a popular website like Wowhead regularly. This, to me, is probably just... And there are more like this, by the way. This, to me, is just the most scumbag comment ever. Because basically what you're saying is, you know what? When it suits me, plagiarism is all good. When it suits me, I don't care if people plagiarize work. Of course, if when it doesn't suit me, plagiarism bad. But as long as I don't have to watch your shitty videos, I'm happy with plagiarism, right? You have Shampy here, for example. What does he have to say? With all due respect, wrong approach. Not the wrong approach, in my opinion. While I took your interview and made a summary of it, it's true that the summary might prevent some people from clicking on the video, but that's not the main issue. It's free visibility. It's not free visibility. Like, what the fuck are you actually talking about? This is not free visibility. Free visibility would be someone reacting to his podcast or to the interview. That would be free visibility because you're actually doing some work and putting some effort into it. This isn't that. This is literally just plagiarizing the fucking episode and putting it in your own words. That's still plagiarism. If you took a paper, a scientific paper that was written by someone else, and then you wrote it down in your own words, that's still plagiarism. You did none of the work. You didn't cite fucking anything. You just sort of, in your own words, summarized it. And yeah, posting the link there, not good enough. Not good enough. A lot of people are just truly, really ignorant and stupid. Some of these comments are great examples of that. Absolutely true. Like, I personally feel like Wowhead should be apologizing for this. And I do think anyone who is okay with what Wowhead did here, needs to go and examine their own moral compass. If you are okay with this, then you are actively saying that you are okay with plagiarism, you are okay with copyright infringement, you don't believe that people should be able to own their own work, nor do you believe that people should be allowed to profit off of their own work. That's what you're saying. Now, you might say to yourself, well, I'm a communist, so I don't believe any of this. No, you do actually. You think workers should be allowed to profit off of their own fucking work as a communist. So this is the one issue where capitalists and communists can fucking take hands and walk off into the sunset and agree this is absolute fucking bullshit. Wowhead should absolutely not be doing this shit. All right? Absolutely not. They should not be doing this. This is disgusting. You know what, Wowhead? Fuck you. Fuck you. This is not on. This is not how it works. You don't get to do that to people's work. Woo. I almost got very angry there. And I wasn't even that angry when I started with the conversation. But I almost got very animated there for a second. Yeah, okay. Calm, collected, back to regular programming. I wanted to bring this to you guys because I felt like it was, at least to some extent, important to discuss. Brickle J, how you doing? Either die a well-respected website or live long enough to become Fixed for Life 2.0. Dude, I didn't know about the hate for Wowhead, but in the last year, I found out that actually Wowhead is arguably one of the most hated websites on the planet. To handle the situation privately. If they fail to do that, then absolutely he can Hulk smash all. Because I don't agree with that. I do not agree with the whole handle the matter privately. It's not a private matter. You publicly stole his work. There's nothing private about this. It's not like you and I were sending DMs to each other and now you have a problem with me and now you want to air out the problem. In that case, yes, DM me, let's figure out the fucking problem. This is a public video that you publicly stole, but now you're saying, well, you should have, handled it in private. Why? You didn't. You should have DM'd me first and asked me if you are allowed to use my podcast for your fucking transcribing website. You should have asked me first. You didn't ask me shit. So no, I don't agree that it should be handled better. Fuck that. Air that shit out in public. Let everyone see the nonsense that's going on there. Kimmy, how you doing? He should be publicly pointing this crap out so that Wowhead doesn't get time to just spin another narrative. Like a boss who berates you in public but apologizes in private. Yeah, it's just, I don't agree with anything that Wowhead did here, and I'm glad that he called them out on it. It's as simple as that. Seeing people lash out on Twitter like that when the option to be civil is there, that should first and foremost be priority in my humble opinion. So the thing is, in my opinion, he was very civil. In fact, I think he was a bit too civil. If you go and you look at his tweet, he's actually a lot more relaxed than what I would have been here. Right? But he is pointing out a fact. Wowhead is a business. Wowhead is a publication. They should have someone on staff that can go, I think you guys are about to plagiarize someone else's fucking work. Like, just a thought. Wowhead pretends to be media. Media isn't allowed to plagiarize other people's fucking work. That's not something that the media can just do. So, absolutely, I think his response here to Wowhead was justified. Well and truly. Now, if Wowhead simply posted his article, right, or his podcast, no transcription, none of that, just posted his podcast and basically said what the podcast is all about, so gave the topics of the podcast, and he acted like this, I would be 100% in agreement with you. What he's doing is just over the top. But you can understand his frustration here. His frustration is that he has just lost potentially thousands of views because Wowhead decided to just rip the whole thing off. Wowhead just decided to take it for themselves, right? And they didn't even have the balls to add something to it. They took away from it, most frankly. So yeah, I just feel like I don't think there's much of a discussion here. I think what they did is just absolutely wrong. So certain words in that tweet to me isn't civil, but I digress. How I see it is that he is only bringing more traffic to them. Well, I don't think he cares about that. I think what he wants is for people to realize that this isn't okay. And hopefully more people will. Oh, it's BB, yeah. No, Wowhead is an absolute disgusting little company. I've had the unfortunate, I guess you could say, what's the word? Experience of interacting with some of the people that write and work for Wowhead, and I can tell you, a bigger group of fucking brain dead monkeys you will not find anywhere. I pretty much guarantee that the overwhelming majority of people involved with Wowhead, stupid as fuck. There's some clever ones, there's some nice guys, and some nice girls, but the ones that I've had the pleasure of interacting or the displeasure of interacting with were fucking beyond stupid, which kind of probably explains this. They don't even know what plagiarism is. So, it is what it is. The React videos, honestly here, Dustin, a React video, depending on how... So when you say React, what kind of React are you talking about? If you're talking about sit there like XQC, or sometimes not even sit there, get up and go get yourself some lunch while the video is playing, absolutely nothing. It is plagiarism of the highest order. But take, for example, and I'm not saying this to excuse myself, I haven't done a reaction video in... the last WoW cinematic, I think, that I reacted to, which was probably like 2 months ago. But World of Warcraft doesn't mind that we react to their cinematics. In fact, they like it. In terms of other YouTubers and the work that I've reacted to there, it's probably been about 5 months since I've last reacted to a video on YouTube. And the reason for it is I grew tired of reacting to videos. The content itself bored me. But whenever I would react to a video, if the video was an hour long, my reaction would be 2.5 to 3 hours long. And you can check that. You can literally go on my second channel, Akalon TV, and go check out my React content. And you'll find pretty much always it's 100% to 150% longer than the original video because I'm adding to it, right? The person is saying something and I'm adding my own content to his content, building it around his content. And I think that is the major difference. This wasn't that. This was literally them just transcribing the whole fucking thing. That's not React. That's not bringing eyeballs. That's just stealing content. Ronan, I don't care if people react to my videos, just to be clear. I couldn't give two fucks. There was a... what's the word I'm looking for? There was a content creator a while ago, let's say 3 or 4 months ago, that DM'd me, and they were asking, hey, would you mind if I reacted to your content? And I was like, nah, bro. Like, fucking do what you want to do. And then he said, I'll pay you. And I was like, bro, just fucking watch the videos. I don't give a shit. I don't care, right? So yeah, I couldn't give two fucks. I don't know who reacts to my content, who doesn't. It's free content. You can do with it whatever the fuck you want. I couldn't care less. I'm not. What do you mean? Why am I sniffing my fingers? Where am I sniffing my fingers? Do you mean in the thumbnail? I'm not sniffing my fingers in the thumbnail, but I guess you could say that. I would give a proper response, but YouTube would ban me if I said that, so let's just leave it at that, right? But it has to do with your sister and the whole thing. Go ask her. She'll know exactly what I'm talking about. See, that's how it should be. Most reactors just take the content, but if they're asking permission, I'm totally okay, but most don't ask. See, that's a good approach, to privately engage first. Because I couldn't care less, It is what it is. I'm okay with either of it. Just being what it is. Anyways. Are we ready to get into some speculation? Because I want to talk about the old gods. I have some things I want to say about the old gods. Maybe Akko is a secret chef, and this is his chef thumbnail. Hey, you're joking, Brit Girl J. But this is actually good news. I'm willing to share this news with you all. I am in the process, and if all things work out, but things can still go south, but I'm in the process of buying my own restaurant. I've already told people on Twitch this. I'm very excited for it. It's going to be a lot of work, but I'm excited for it. So yeah, pretty soon I might actually be a chef. 4 or 5 old gods. I believe there's 5. Moni, no, I'm not I will never apologize to you. I would offer up my nuts before I apologize to the Titans. Because I can cook, though. Just want to be clear. One doesn't look the way I do without knowing how to fucking cook. Kiki, how you doing? Valid reason for me to visit South Africa. All of you will be welcome at the restaurant if you're ever in South Africa. I'll keep you guys up to date if it ever comes to that, and if I ever get the shop. There's one other guy that wants to buy it as well, so I'm hoping that I'm the one that they pick to get it's a coffee shop / restaurant, so I'm super fucking excited for it. It's exactly what I've wanted for a really long time. It's on the beach. Like, on the fucking beach, bro. If you walk 25 meters or however many fucking, whatever distance that is in freedom units, I don't know. But it's like, if you're standing inside the shop and you look out the window, you're looking at the ocean. That's the shop. That's where it's fucking located, bro. Like, you could not ask for a better spot for a coffee shop. So I'm super excited for that. Pray for you, brother. Elodie, thank you very much. I'd really appreciate that. 82 feet. All right. 82 feet in freedom units. Demi K, I do believe that, yes. I do believe that. I do believe that the Stormy Seas and Avaloran and the Fifth Old God is very much connected to each other. Coffee, stay for the while. Speculations? Brian, you're joking, but that might be a thing, you know? I might just stay afterwards once it closes and just record videos while I'm testing out new recipes and stuff. Just chat to you guys while I'm, cooking. We'll see. I'm super excited for opening. Dude, I have wanted to open a restaurant for the last probably year and a half. Seriously wanted to open my own restaurant. But I've wanted to do it probably for the last decade. It's been a dream of mine for a long time to own my own restaurant. And when this thing just came up, I was like, dude, I fucking need this. So yeah, I'm super excited for it. Cooking while cooking? Yeah, why not? Wife, and how you doing? Live episode of the Barrens by the beach incoming. Dude, I would fucking love to do that if South Africa's laws weren't so bonkers. Trust me, I've wanted to do that in the past. I've wanted to set up everything, go down to the beach and just stream from the beach and do some live streams talking WoW and shit. And then I found out in South Africa, you're not allowed to record people at all against their will. And you can get sued if you do so. So if you're on the beach and you're just recording and you're live streaming, I would have to go around live and ask every single person on the beach whether or not I have their permission to record them. So yeah, it's a nightmare. It just will not fly in South Africa. Otherwise, trust me, I would have done that. Yeah. You're not allowed to do. I thought you lived next door to Asmongold. Why would I live next door to Asmongold? I have never been to Texas, sir. Rosin, how you doing, brother? Are you going to play the War Within, Akko? And if so, what class? Dude, I'm going to play War Within, and someone in chat, can you please tell Razan what will I be playing? It's not. I'm not one of those adventurous types of people. I'm sort of like when I was 17 years old, I discovered Missionary, and I decided this works for me. That's the kind of guy I am. I discovered, and I wasn't much older than 17 when I discovered Warlock in World of Warcraft, and I was like, this works. I'm alright with this. And I have always been a Warlock. This is what I do. This is what I like. This is what I know. I don't care for changing. I've never changed my main, not even once. I've never even tempted. Warlock is what I level, and Warlock is what I play. And I'm happy to do that. So yeah, I'm going to be playing Warlock. And it's going to be Affliction Warlock. I will definitely not be playing Volpera. That shit will not fly. I'll try it. I have every single alt in the game, and I've raided on every single alt in the game. I just don't, like, my main is always my Warlock. Warlocks always get the best item sets in the game. He checks back. Vengeance, I agree with that. I thought you were going to say Warlock is the missionary of WoW. No, I think, to be fair, missionary is not the only position that I favor, but it made my point, so I went with it anyways. What faction race? Is that even a question? There is but one faction, and that is the Horde. There is but one race, and that is the Orcs. Why would you even ask this? Oh, speaking of LOL, I don't know if you laughed or if you said LOL, but speaking of LOL, have you guys played League of Legends Swarm? Have any of you played League of Legends Swarm? Please tell me there's some of you that's played League of Legends Swarm. If you haven't already, you should absolutely do that. And then more to the point, we should start putting pressure on World of Warcraft to do this in WoW. I want a WoW Swarm. I want a WoW Swarm. And they can do it exactly the same as they did with Plunderstorm, or Plunder Booty, Plunder Bay, whatever the fuck that was called. They can do it exactly the same way as that. But I want that. Dude, that shit would be fire. That shit would be fire. We're playing that game? What do you mean you rage quit, Wyfern? We should Dio that. We should actually Dio that. Just some DQ on that. That's fun. So the button, ignored it. Tom, do yourself a favor. Play some Swarm, bro. It's fun. Never played League. Plunder Booty. Freudian slip. I've always called it Plunder Booty because I can't remember the actual name of the fucking thing. Was it Plunderstorm? Whatever, right? But that game mode. I want a WoW Swarm. The Grey, it's roguelike, right? It's a roguelike game. So it is really good. Right, MMO got restarted. It's still cooking, but maybe in a decade or so. Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath for... Oh, I do actually have something for my WoW fans. So I'm assuming all of you are WoW fans in here. And I'm assuming all of you, like, none of you know anything about this fucking game. Can I quickly see how many of you guys are dungeon fans? Like, super dungeon fans. How many of you? Like, you love dungeons, you love Mythic Plus. This is sort of your vibe. Yeah, like Mythic Plus. For the most part, me. Mega Dungeons are best. I love dungeons. Nah, I like the kinky ones better. I mean, okay. Love dungeons. Don't like Mythic Plus. Not me, definitely. Yeah, Wyfern. Dungeons with friends. Is some... Okay, so... I'm about to show you guys something. It's a new game that's coming out that is kind of taking dungeons to a whole new level. It's removing the open world, it's removing the leveling, it's removing the questing, and it's just dungeons. That's genuinely all it is, and it kind of looks decent. I'm just showing this to those of you that enjoy dungeons and think you might want to get into this at some point.
We're very excited to finally get to show Fellowship to the world, a game that we've been working on for a long time. A few years ago, we founded Chief Rebel, an independent studio located in Stockholm, Sweden. We've put together an incredible experienced team that have worked on games like Diablo, the Just Cause series, Battlefield, Helldivers, The Division, World of Warcraft, and a bunch of other huge titles over the years. Here in the studio, we like to call Fellowship a multiplayer online dungeon
You'll see in a second, Ronan.
A MODA, if you will. It's a game that celebrates...
So it's a new genre of game, for those of you that may have just missed what he said there. It's a multiplayer online dungeon adventure, is what they're calling it. So where you have MMOs, multiplayer, massive multiplayer online, you have MOBAs, that's the multiplayer online battle arena. This is MODA, multiplayer online dungeon adventure.
Celebrates our favorite endgame activity, where you will gather a bunch of friends in a group of 4 and go out and do dungeons together. And these dungeons are going to be full of enemies with their own unique abilities and tricks and strategies that you need to figure out. And of course, bosses providing their own unique challenges that you will need to work together with your team to overcome. And when you do, there's loot to be had. With Fellowship, we are taking inspiration from a number of types of games that we love. So there's a bit of action RPG in here, there's a bit of MOBA, and there's a bit of MMO as well. You can jump into the endgame content straight away, and you don't have to spend hours and hours grinding just to get to the fun stuff. When you first log in, you will pick your hero, join up with your friends or find a group, and queue into a dungeon. As you level up, you'll also unlock new talents, set bonuses, and relics that provide new facets and depth to your chosen hero. As you complete dungeons, you gain access to higher difficulties. As the difficulty increases, the enemies become a lot harder, and the rewards you receive become more powerful. The core of Fellowship is this endgame MMO.
So I like the fact that it is fundamentally the class you pick is the class you pick, right? So if you pick a character, that character is either a DPS or a tank or a healer. It means that they can balance the game much better because there's no sorts of weird builds and weird stuff that happen. And it is my understanding that you can pretty easily swap between characters. So if you want to take a different character, you can do that and go. Right, just do the dungeons to your heart content. I'm not entirely sure if loot is going to be account-wide or if it's going to be character-specific, but fundamentally, you can jump right into it. I'm showing you this also because we're going to be talking about something WoW-related after this, but continue watching because there's actually some cool stuff coming for the Mythic Plus fans.
Style dungeon experience. You can jump straight from dungeon to dungeon, and you will get all the progression, rewards, and everything that you need from within that content. There are 2 types of dungeons that players will take on: Adventure and Ranked.
Adventure dungeons are doing everything we know and love from our ranked dungeon format, but we want to take that experience and distill it down to 10 to 15 minute bite-sized experiences. Ranked dungeons is what this genre offers best. This is our opportunity to provide a core experience to our seasoned veterans of this genre, to compete against each other on our leaderboards, to overcome impossible odds with their friends, and to really make their mark on the community. The greatest...
I think graphically, it looks charming. My problem with it is, yes, it's stylized, but it doesn't have character. If that makes sense. So WoW, for example, is heavily stylized, but WoW has character. You know, there's a character in WoW. There's something, when you see WoW, you know that is WoW. The same can be said for League of Legends. You see League of Legends, and it is heavily stylized, but it has a character to it. This game doesn't seem to have that same character. It's stylized, and the graphics looks really cool, but it's not, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe I'm just being overly sort of WoW loving here, but it just misses that character for me, that soul that you need in a game.
Rewards and Fellowship come to the players who are willing to opt in to the most challenging content. That means specifically choosing to, with your party, take on multiple dungeon modifiers at a time. In addition to the standard scaling of our dungeons, we also want to make sure that there are these added layers that don't just change the numbers of, oh, I need to hit him with a bigger stick. Now, I need to move out of the way as a giant fireball rains from the sky. Or now freezing winds are blowing everybody off towards the edge of the map, things that change gameplay. When players enter a dungeon, they've got 3 goals to keep in mind. 1, they gotta kill all the bosses.
It does actually give very Hunt Showdown vibes to it, like fantasy Hunt Showdown kind of vibe.
Then, they have to make sure that the kill score is absolutely filled by killing enough of the enemies in the dungeon. And then lastly, they need to make sure that we're doing all of that in the allotted time. So for our ranked dungeons, that's about 30 minutes, and for our adventure dungeons, we're looking at 10 minutes. The enemies in Fellowship are challenging, and that means that players are going to have to rely on the Holy Trinity, tank, healer, and DPS in order to overcome these challenges. Each role is necessary to succeed, with each having a distinct role to play.
So when we created our roster of heroes, it was really important that each hero feels unique to Fellowship, while still being recognizable for people that have played thousands of hours in similar games. So we've got this one hero called Rhyme, and she's got this very bursty and procky rhythm to her gameplay. She's not very cooldown reliant at all. Instead, she has a very steady build up to constant payoffs that will feel really explosive and flashy. With Warmaster, you've got a tank that should feel like home, and it's super easy to pick up. She also has a toughness mechanic where more advanced players will be able to min-max their damage mitigation and cooldown reduction. Fellowship is going to be a constantly evolving adventure that will be built to last for a really long time, and we're so excited to have the players be part of that development journey with us. We've got heaps of content planned for Fellowship, and there's going to be a lot more to talk about really, really soon. But to start your adventure with Fellowship, make sure to sign up for our closed alpha, starting really soon.
Yeah, so as you can see here, I wanted to show you guys this because I know there's a lot of people in here that love WoW, love dungeons, but you know, this is sort of a conversation, let's be real, that we've been having within the WoW space for some time now. Mainly because it has come to our attention now officially that Blizzard have announced it or admitted it as well, that the WoW player base is in fact not a single whole. For a long time, people did think that it was, right? For a long time, people sort of argued that this is an MMO, this is a game, and everyone should do everything. And that was sort of the approach that Blizzard took. That was sort of the idea that Blizzard sort of played with. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was this long period in World of Warcraft where Blizzard really tried to involve PvP and PvE into the playstyle. So PvPers would sometimes have to do some PvE stuff, and even sometimes PvEers would have to go do PvP stuff just to unlock things, although rarely PvE had to go into PvP. And as it turns out, that's generally not how WoW players play the game. We don't really play everything in the game. Not everyone enjoys everything in the game. And to try and force everyone to do everything in the game, here's a problem, right? It doesn't really work. Let me ask you guys, how many of you in chat do literally a little bit of everything in World of Warcraft? So you genuinely do PvP, PvE, Mythic Plus, raiding, and, you know, collecting mounts, collecting pets. You do a little bit of everything in the game. Everything but PvP. The worst. I used to. I don't now. Anything but PvE. Yep, I love all of it. I hate turning game into different standalone mini segments. I want it to be an interconnected thing like Classic. Although, but Classic wasn't interconnected. There were barely any PvP in Classic. Nor did you have to do PvP in order to do anything. Right? So it was actually not that interconnected with one another. Don't do dungeons anymore due to Mythic Plus being their main thing. Yeah, RP counts. Because RP is a fundamental part of the game, right? Raids, dungeons, and questing. I think the point here is pretty clear. We have a lot of different players just in this chat playing the game in very many different ways. Some of you do almost everything. Some of you don't. Some of you do only one thing. So, for example, I only do lore. I don't do world quests. I don't do dungeons. I don't do raids. I don't do anything I don't have to do in order to unlock the lore. So the only time I go into a dungeon is the first time because there's lore in there. The only time I go into a raid is the first time because the story is oftentimes locked behind it. But then I'm done, right? I'll never go back. I'll never do another run. I go in, I record it, and then I'll watch it because I'm listening to the boss lines and looking at the room and shit like that. But I rarely ever go back and do it. I don't like the content. I do other things if I want to play games. But I love the lore, right? And that's how I play the game. So I sort of asked a question. I'll quickly find it for you guys. I asked a question over on Twitter a few days ago. Now, in order to give you guys a little bit of backstory here to the question, Blizzard have already confirmed that the MSQ, or the main story quest line for The War Within, is going to be a lot more condensed. And when I say a lot, according to Blizzard, it is a lot faster to quest now through War Within than ever before. And the main reason Blizzard did this is because they are well aware that there are a number of players in World of Warcraft who do not like questing. They don't care about the story. They don't care about the lore. They want to get to max level. They want to get to end game so that they can do dungeons, so they can do raids, so they can do PvP. The story in WoW, don't care. They have the settings basically to auto-skip all cinematics. Just skip everything that is unnecessary. Just let me go to where I need to be because I want to go do dungeons or whatever. So I asked a question, and I'm going to pose this question to you guys as well. Do you believe that it might be time for us to start looking at removing levels from World of Warcraft in its entirety? Do you think you could see a world where there is no such thing as leveling in World of Warcraft anymore, and that World of Warcraft can still be successful as a result of that? Now, you guys can let me know. I'm keeping an eye on chat as it's going. But let's talk about some of the fundamental pushback that some people have given to it, right? People mention things like WoW is an RPG, and leveling is just synonymous with RPGs. All RPGs have leveling. To that, I will say, just because something has always worked doesn't mean it's the best way to do it, right? I mean, yes, it has always worked, but if that was the mindset, we'd all still be fucking driving around on horse cart. Because it worked. It wasn't optimal. It wasn't the fastest, but it worked, right? So why fix something that isn't broke, fundamentally? So just because it's something we've always done doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way to do it. The other thing is, a lot of people pointed out, well, what about progression? Because RPGs is all about that progression. And if you remove leveling, you remove progression from the game. Now, to that, I will say, leveling is only a core part of an RPG because it simulates progression. But it is not the only way to simulate progression. In fact, about 80% of World of Warcraft is progression without leveling at all. Because if you think about it, the leveling experience in World of Warcraft is what, about 5-6 hours of your life? The next 100, 200, 300 hours that you will spend in an expansion, you will not be spending leveling, but you'll still be progressing, right? You'll be progressing by getting better gear, getting more power, unlocking all manner of things, right? As a result, and that will be progression. So you can absolutely remove leveling from the game and still have progression. The progression will simply become power progression or unlock progression or even talent progression, right? You can still have talent in the game. They just don't unlock through levels. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up and the reason this is something that I I'm going to say I'm not 100% on this. I'm not suggesting for 1 second, let's remove leveling right now, best decision you could ever make. What I'm saying is, I think it's an idea worth exploring. I think it's something that is absolutely worth thinking about. What are the upsides of removing leveling from the game? Well, to me, it first and foremost takes care of the group of players that refuse to play for the story. They couldn't care less about the story. If anything, the story is just in their way. Now, why is that important to me? Because Blizzard have admitted in the most recent interview where they announced that the MSQ for War Within is going to be shorter, the reason they're making it shorter and condensing it more is because if they make long story quests, that group of players gets angry. They don't like it. It frustrates them because that's not how they want to play. The way I see it, that means that I'm suffering as a lore nerd because other people don't like lore. So I'm served with watered down, rushed quest lines because there's this group of players that just don't want to see story. And I want to see story. Like, you have a quest line that's going to take me 3 days to complete? Fucking let's go. I'll do that. I'll run around all over Azeroth, completing this quest line, getting story unlocks upon story unlocks and dialogue about all sorts of shit. Let's go. I am all for that. You want to tie me up with side quests that explain and express the world and do the tiniest little bit of explanation for world building and all the rest of it? Let's go. I'm all for it. That's what I want to play. You want to give me a campaign, an expansion launch campaign that takes a month to complete? Dude, I would literally soil myself. I would be so happy. Because if you don't have the group of players that just want to get to endgame, you can do that. Right? You can do that. And the people that just want to get the dungeons and the raids can go do the dungeons and the raids, no problem, right? And the people that don't have to. They can continue with the story. And you can have people that do the story sort of in their free time when they're not doing the dungeons. To my mind, at least, on a surface level, without having spent too many hours thinking about all of the particular downsides to it, because there could be downsides. Pretty much every decision will always have upsides and downsides. But without going too deep into it, my thinking, at least right now, is that it creates a lot more choice, and I don't see glaring downsides. Do any of you see anything that would, like, how would this absolutely destroy the game? If at all, right? Do you think that this would absolutely just ruin WoW if this happened? Barmut, no. No. You're again making a fundamental mistake here. You see, I hate this. I hate this from players, not from you, but I hate this mentality from the fucking WoW crowd. Listen to what you're saying. You're saying you'd need to change everything into long quest chains with rewards that make you want to do them. If I have to add rewards onto it to make you want to do it, that's just another way of saying I'm going to find a way to force you to do it. I am suggesting a completely, wholly optional quest line experience. Optional. Only for those of us that care about the lore of the game. I will do those quests even if they offer zero fucking reward. Because the reward to me is the story that I'm unlocking. I want to see the story. I want to see the world building. I want to know the secrets of this world. The second you add incentive, I'm not saying don't add rewards. You can have gear as a reward. And if the gear is similar to, say, Mythic +2 or Mythic +3 or even Mythic +5. Yeah, all right, no problem. If that is something you want to do. But I don't think the second you start creating these incentives to make you want to do something, that's just another way of saying you have to do the thing. Just we're using a different type of way to force you to do it. Then the critters wouldn't really be interesting anymore. But remember, a big part of how quests in World of Warcraft is designed, and the reason why quests are mainly gameplay, so kill 10 of this, kill 20 of that, go do this, that, or the other, is because Blizzard needs to make it somewhat interesting for the dungeon crowd. Because they don't want to run from quest giver to quest giver and just get a bunch of story. They don't want to go explore some hidden cave somewhere and unlock a bunch of story along the way. They just want to fucking go, finish all of the quests, get to max level, let's go dungeon and raid. Right? That's what they want to do. Go. If you remove that group of players, you can now have a quest line that is just literally 4 hours of running around from quest giver to quest giver and getting a bunch of dialogue. Of things that's happening. And for us, the players that love the story, it's going to be like fucking playing a movie, It's going to be super fun. It's going to be mega fun. You can have some killing along the way just to sort of break the monotony of it. But fundamentally, you can have super in-depth storylines as a result of removing that side of the player base. How much of the main story campaign going to be condensed now in the War Within? They didn't give an exact percentage, but from what I understand, it is the shortest quest line Blizzard have ever had for an expansion. Just remember the skills, it would be basically the same. Britgirl J, this is exactly what I said, right? But yes, to your point, you are absolutely correct. You remove levels from the game, and instead you do replace it with talents or skills. And you can unlock talents or skills literally any way you want. So you can do dungeons to unlock skills, you can do raids to unlock skills, you can do PvP to unlock skills, and after you obtain the 10 new skills for, this expansion, you're max level. Congratulations. You've collected all of the skills. Because if you think about leveling in WoW, it really is just number goes up. Levels, the actual level doesn't really matter. It's just number goes higher. All I'm saying is, what if we removed the number that goes higher and just replaced it with a bunch of talents or with a bunch of skills? Would that be a bad thing? Chat? How many of you think that would absolutely just be fucking terrible? Yeah, you'd still have reputations and stuff of that nature. Locking people into content, nothing wrong with that. Would that mean they have more time and resources to work on making other things good? Chris, it would mean that they could spend all of their time on each piece of content, optimizing it for the player base that likes that piece of content, rather than having to sort of keep everyone a little bit happy. Sashi, so what you're pointing out now is what we could call logistical problems. So, yes, you don't want more button bloats, so you don't want 10 new skills every single expansion. Well, you already get a bunch of new skills every single expansion, but some skills may just be passives, right? Kind of like the hero talents. Skills don't have to be new skills. They could literally just be new talents. Right? Or you could work in, you could take the remix, the mop remix sort of gem system and bring that to life. And every single expansion, you get a bunch of new gems to sort of build a new class around it, right? Not take the exact gem system, but sort of maybe borrow from the gem system into retail and do something with that. So there's plenty of ways to skin this particular cat if you need to, right? Literally on arrival? Yes, Digit Mark. Right now, at least, the game seems dead. Low gear is the same as low level? Yep, pretty much. They should make the first 2 weeks lower leveling only, then add the endgame stuff. Why do we need to cater to the no lives on release? Aiden, so my question is, why do they need to cater to the lore people on release? See, I can flip that question to you. And I could say, well, why do you matter? Why don't we just add leveling at the end of the expansion? Why don't we just launch the expansion with no quest whatsoever, and we just give you the full quest line right at the end of an expansion? Right? I could do that too. And you wouldn't be able to make an argument against that, because again, you and me we're just one small part of the community. My approach is to try and cater to all of the community, to try and make everyone a little bit happier. Previous expansion stuff when a new one comes out? Elodie, not necessarily, because again, you would handle stats pretty much the exact same way you do now. Right? Literally exactly the same way you do now. It would balance around the gear that you get. So you would literally just move the weights around so that you add things like hardcore diminishing returns to it. Right? This is one of the ways in which you can do it. Very hardcore diminishing returns. Elden Ring, for example, does this with their new game plus system, where eventually it becomes almost impossible to level your character, or to make your character far more powerful because of diminishing returns. You could also build a sort of soft power reset that happens every few expansions, where some of the stats do get brought back in line a little bit, just to create new space for growth. But yeah, fundamentally, I don't see why. Because remember, also, when you're removing levels, you don't necessarily have to have bigger numbers on all of the gear. It could just be different numbers, right? Right? Is leveling really even a thing anymore? I mean, when we say leveling here, we are talking about questing, really, right? The whole thing of getting into an expansion, having to quest and get to max level. Because you can do the lore while leveling already? No. I mean, if people want to skip, they just skip. If you want to read all the dialogue, you do. Demike, you can't really, because there's a lot of things in World of Warcraft that only unlock if you've done the main storyline. So if you don't do the main storyline, there's just a bunch of things in World of Warcraft that will not unlock for you. Not only that, but leveling with dungeons and stuff is very unoptimized, right? It's not necessarily the best way to level. It's not even the fastest way to level. So there are reasons why you must do quests in World of Warcraft. But it's just an idea that I wanted to throw out there. It's something that I think it's always worth thinking outside the box. A game like this Fellowship makes me question whether or not MMOs have maybe stagnated a little bit too much. You know what I mean? It feels like the MMO genre specifically has sort of, it reached a mature point pretty early on. And then from there, it's just sort of done the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah, the bells and the whistles change a little bit, but the core remains pretty much the same. And I'm sort of thinking, I think it's always worth thinking, is there something we could do better? While still keeping the same core intact, Is there stuff that we could do a little bit better? Move something here, do something here, take something away or add something in? Does this actually make things better? Because as you see, you are starting to get games like Fellowship now, which is focusing purely on the leveling, on the dungeon experience of MMOs. You're probably going to have raids in Fellowship as well at some point, which means that for those players that do love dungeons and raids, if the game is good, they might be tempted to leave WoW and go play Fellowship, right? Because it scratches that itch, gives them dungeons to do and raids to do, rather than having to slog through what they would consider to be bad questing just to get to the dungeon bit. But side quests are where the real juice lore gets done. So I think Blizzard has found a good middle ground. Talis Raidstar, they found a decent middle ground. It is true that the side quests are absolute fire in the War Within. It is true that Blizzard have sort of moved most of the world building to the side quests, and I fucking love that. But it is still, I mean, there's always room for improvement. And you should always be thinking about ways of improving. Living is a restricting construct made by Amanthul. We must break these chains to unleash our true potential. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Okay, so, I think it's time for us to have a bit of a chat, ladies and gentlemen. So you guys know how we've been talking a lot about the old gods, and especially with Xalatath being the main feature of the next few expansions, I think it's become fairly obvious that the old gods are going to play a phenomenal role in the next expansion. Of course, this brings with it a number of questions. Questions like, where do the old gods actually come from? The conventional wisdom here is that the old gods come from the Void Lords. If you believe the Titans, you believe the Chronicles, then the Void Lords long ago flung their essence into the great beyond, kind of like a money shot at the end of a porn film, and their essence just went everywhere. And it hit some planets, and other planets it completely missed. But it was specifically looking for the planets with Titans inside of it, because the Void Lords, according to the Titans, wanted to infect a nascent Titan. And the reason they wanted to infect a nascent Titan is because they couldn't infect or manipulate a live one. They wanted to make a new type of Titan, a big Titan, a Void Titan. And of course, Sargeras, hearing from the Nathrezim, very trusted source, of course, in World of Warcraft, when the Nathrezim say something, we must all pay attention, because they never lie, obviously. The Nathrezim told Sargeras that, oh, these old dudes? Yeah, they actually, like, whoo, fuck. If they make this Void Titan, that Titan's going to be the strongest Titan in all of the world. You know, the world has nothing on that Titan. And Sargeras, of course, got so scared that Sargeras said, well, I'm deleting everything. We're starting from scratch. Alt F4 this fucker out of this. Let's stop it all. The Titans were like, Pikachu face, what are you doing? Why would this even be a thing? I can't believe you thought this. And then the Titans said, no, we'll spank your dick off. We're coming for you. As they arrived, Sargeras bitch slapped the whole of them. Amanthul pretty much crumbled like a crouton, and the fight was over. Sargeras was now the only Titan left, walking through the great beyond, in the Twisting Nether, fucking around with the demons. And Amanthul and the other Titans were sort of traveling the great beyond until they found Azeroth, or the reports there get a little murky, of where they spent most of that time. But the point is, that's the conventional story. That's where the old gods come from. That's the lore, right, of World of Warcraft. Now, since then, there's been a number of us that's been asking questions. Questions like, can we really believe this story? Is that really where the old gods come from? Now, I have no doubt that the old gods serve the Void Lords. This is pretty clear. But I do not think that the old gods were from the Void Lords originally. I just don't believe the whole Essence story it seems stupid to me. It doesn't make sense. Like, nothing about, like, the Titans' belief of what the old gods want to do appear to be far too in-depth, considering the Titans don't know the Void Lords. The Titans have never met the Void Lords. And yet they have this giant concoction of a story about what the Void Lords want to do, to them, no less, because they're obviously, I mean, let's be real, Amanthul is suffering from main character syndrome. If the Titans had TikTok and Instagram, he would be the biggest diva of them all. Luckily, they do not. That would have been insufferable. But, I think fundamentally, I have a problem with the construction of the story. Not only that, there's a couple of things that's sort of weird to me. So, today, during the pre-patch event and stuff, I'm flying around. I'm doing some reconnaissance, just looking about, mucking about, having a bit of fun. And I'm going around Ulduar, right? Just sort of looking and sort of checking things out in Ulduar. And I mean, I've seen these windows or crystals or something. It's a weird thing because there's also smaller ones that clearly have some kind of liquid that moves inside of it. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, that looks weird, no? I mean, that doesn't look very Titan-y to me. There's maybe some dream essence there, sure, but not very much Titan-y. The Titans don't really build that way. The Titans don't really... Their architecture isn't really like this. If you look at the Titans, it's very ordered, It's very straight lines and perfect things. This is literally not that at all. And that kind of bothered me a little. And then I found these things. Now, I called this a bridge to nowhere. And I started to think. And these bridges literally are built all around, right? It's also clear that this entire city was much, much bigger than what we see today. And that a big portion or part of it seems to be completely missing from it. I didn't take a screenshot of that. I'll go back at some point and take a screenshot. But when you're standing on this bridge and you're looking that way, you'll see that there are bridges that sort of just abruptly stop, sort of broken, and then just nothing. There's nothing. There's also nothing below it. It's just vast emptiness. Just gone. And you sort of think, okay, what is Ulduar? Now, when you look at the annotated books of Deathwing, I brought them up last week. There's this book written by the Titans, and Deathwing made notes on this book. Deathwing mocks the Titans that claim that they were the ones who brought order and built civilization on Azeroth. He mocks them. And he says, as if things didn't exist here before the Titans arrived, they are usurpers, if anything. And then I started to think, what if Ulduar is actually an old god city? What if the things that look Titan to us are not Titan at all? What if that's not what it was originally? Again, if you look at this, it's a bridge. It's clearly a bridge. It has arches on it. But there's no doors on either side of this bridge. No doors. No way to get there. Why would you have a bridge with no way to get to said bridge? Now, before people go, dude, it's just art. There is such a thing as world building, where the world itself builds the story. What if the entirety of Ulduar was once a giant old god city, and the Titans literally just built on top of it. So the sort of awkward bridge to nowhere that you see here, for example, used to go somewhere. It used to go somewhere. It no longer goes anywhere because the Titans built shit there. They sort of closed it off. But once upon a time, it was actually a city. And the old gods were actually the ones who built it. To me, this makes sense. As, again, you look at this crystal window thing, and you do say, this is certainly not Titan design. Don't know whose design this is, because it's also not quite old god design. If I were to judge on anything, I have slight manted feels towards this. I don't know why. It gives sort of bug, manted, clocksy kind of vibes. I don't know why, but that's sort of the vibes I get from the architecture of these installations, I guess you could say. Now, the pillars next to it, that does look old godish, Titanish, but, you know, the green sort of bluish windowsill thing, that looks a little bit weird. But if there was the old Black Empire, Kraken, that could absolutely be. But all right, back to the original conversation. Old gods, where are they from? What are they? Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we get into a bit of speculation. I do not believe that the old gods are from the void themselves. I believe they serve the void, but I believe they serve the void for a very specific reason. I actually believe that the old gods are decay elementals. I believe that the old gods were what we today would know as elemental lords, but they were the elemental lords of decay. Why do I believe this? Yogg-Saron and Galakrond. It is said that Galakrond drank water that was corrupted by Yogg-Saron. When you read what happened to Galakrond, Galakrond was overtaken by decay. Yogg-Saron is an old god void creature, according to the Titans. Why would a void creature have access to decay magic? Shouldn't. The void has nothing to do with decay. You could say the void is a process of decay, but it has nothing to do with decay. None of the void magic is that of decay. You have Yogg-Saron saying that I am death. Again, not true. The void isn't death. The void has nothing to do with death. Decay does. Decay is literally the death of life. And without decay, the cycle cannot continue. And if you remember, the Void Lords, or the Old Gods rather, also pretty obsessed with cycles, as the tree in the Emerald Nightmare suggested. I believe they were elemental lords, specifically the elemental lords of decay. And I believe that when the Titans arrived, the Titans would have none of that. The Titans would not stand for decay ruling Azeroth, which is what the old gods literally, they were decay. And because spirit, the very thing that creates life, spirit, because Azeroth had absorbed all of the spirit, there was nothing to keep decay in check. Azeroth was basically creating life aplenty, and this gave decay so much that it could absorb and grow and become stronger. This is why you see 5 prime lords of decay, the 5 old gods, or speculated 5, 4 confirmed. This is why they have 5. Because unlike the other elements that were kept in check by their opposite ends, decay had no opposite end. Azeroth was basically dreaming like fucking crazy things into reality, and the old gods were feasting. They were eating to their heart's content on this planet, and this allowed them to grow very, very powerful. But now the Titans arrive, and while the old gods are certainly powerful, they cannot fight a Titan. This they just cannot do. And so they reach out to a greater power. A power that is already on Azeroth. The Void. And the Void Lords grant their power to just about anyone who asks. And the Titan or the Old Gods are changed forever. Changed into something new. Now you might say, but Aklon, why do you think this? Well, I'm going to explain it to you by showing you a short piece of the new cinematic.
As her dutiful speaker, he rallied the champions to her aid, and ultimately to confront the return of the old god, N'Zoth. It was during this conflict that Xal'atath, a mysterious entity of the Void, made a deal with N'Zoth, freeing her from the cursed blade that bound her essence within.
Honor our bargain. Free me to find my own fate.
After she vanished,
Honor our bargain. Free me to find my own fate. Does that sound like the words of characters serving the same masters? Honor our bargain. Free me to find my own fate. That's not characters that serve the same master. Xal'atath's master would be the same as the old gods. So Xal'atath's fate would have very much been tied to the old god's fate, and the old god's fate to Xal'atath's fate. No? Well, this is where we get into some serious trouble. Locust Walker. Locust Walker says to Illyria that the Radiant Song was heard on their planet, Karish, moments before the destruction of their planet, before Dementius. And by the way, this is the first time that Dementius was actually confirmed to have existed. Most of the other ethereals would not talk about it, and those who would talk about it would only do so in like half sentences. But Dementius, the Void Lord that arrived on Karish, finally confirmed. But there's a problem here. There are no confirmed old gods on Karish. 0. So, what prepared the way for the Void Lord? The Harbinger, most likely. What made that noise? The crystal. At least I believe that the crystal in Hallowfall is the thing that is sending out the Radiant Song. I don't believe that it is Azeroth because, again, there is zero evidence to suggest that the ethereal planet had a Titan inside of it. And if they heard the exact same Radiant Song that we on Azeroth hear, then that Radiant Song has to have a similar origin to the one that we have, and the crystal is the thing that makes sense. I think the crystal is a beacon of the light, Aston. I think the light... So, what you have to understand here, there are truths in World of Warcraft. There are futures. There are unlimited futures. Timelines, effectively, in World of Warcraft's universe. The timelines are unlimited. The Void believes in every single one of these timelines. They believe that every single one of these timelines can be true. This is why they say they believe in 1,000 truths. The Titans believe that there is a single timeline. The other timelines matter, and the other timelines need to be balanced and sort of kept from interfering with the main timeline, but they only believe in the one timeline, the one truth. The Light, similarly, believes in a single timeline, a single truth. But unlike the Titans, the Light has no interest in fucking with any of the other timelines. This is the one timeline, this is the only timeline, this is the only one that matters, and this is the one that we will protect. So the Light would obviously have foreseen the creation of the old gods, the Void Lord's interference in the Great Beyond. And much like every other cosmological force, the Light too required a way to act, a way to react to forces. And I believe that the crystal and I believe the crystal is a gateway. It's sort of like, it serves two purposes. It's a homing beacon so that the light can always keep track of where the different Titan worlds are. But then it's also a gateway, and it communicates information back to the light. Should Azeroth or any of the other planets ever come under severe distress, in other words, there is a big play being made on that home world, the light can instantly send the army of the light to that planet using the crystal. It is no surprise that the Harbinger has basically rushed to this crystal. To what? To do what with this crystal? To turn it void. Because Xal'atath knows if she fails, if this crystal is allowed to remain light, the army of the light can show up at any given point in time, and that significantly increases the difficulty of the major takedown of Azeroth. Now, the Dark Heart is... I don't know. I don't know what it is. I've been playing around with it because Khadgar suggests that it may have been an early prototype that was rejected by Deathwing, but we know that that's not true because we know that the Dark Heart is far older than Deathwing himself and Nalfarian. It predates Nalfarian by some time. So the Dark Heart has to be an artifact of... It could be the Primus. I would not put that past. If we were to combine speculations, which is something I rarely do, I don't like speculating on speculations. But if we were to do that, and we were to say that the Primus was actually the enemy of all, and he's the one that carefully orchestrated the locking up of Zuval, because Zuval saw that the Primus was actually working with the Void in order to corrupt or control or to overthrow the current system of order, then it is possible that it was the Primus himself that built the Dark Heart and sent the Dark Heart to Azeroth so that it can be utilized in order to bring about the Void Lord's victory. So it is entirely possible that could actually have happened, and we know that the Primus of all people, of all Titans and Eternal Ones, would have the knowledge to actually build that, right? The world cleaved by Sargeras lost its heart, and the Titans hid it on Azeroth. Stakadaka, the problem with that, of course, is the Dark Heart is nowhere near large enough for it to be a physical heart of a Titan. Could it be the essence of a heart of a Titan? Yeah, that's very true. That's very possible. I could see that. Although, I genuinely don't know. At least not at this point. I'm not entirely sure. But there was something else I wanted to show you guys. Let me just quickly see. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you guys. Ethereals. Ethereals in Telegor Rift. This, I think, is highly problematic. There are Ethereals that are currently serving the Void. Now, that's not new. We've known for a while that there are Ethereals serving the Void. What is interesting is the amount of Ethereals that are serving the Void. Clearly, loads. Not to mention the fact that you have Nalara. Nalara is a Rift Walker trained by Illyria, and Nalara's biggest dream, her biggest hope, was to serve alongside Illyria. This was her dream. And she succumbed to the... Succumbed, right? It's not succumbed. The fuck am I saying? Words. She succumbed to the influence of the void, right? I think the game is busy setting up Illyria for the exact same fall. And it all comes from the final cinematic that we saw during the pre-patch. At least the final big cinematic we saw during the pre-patch. With Locust Walker speaking to Illyria and telling her that she should go bigger. There's no more holding back. There's no more, being unbalanced. It's time for her to give in fully to the void. I don't think the void can be resisted. And I don't believe that Locust Walker is serving Illyria. I think that Locust Walker himself is serving himself. He is serving the void. And this is a severe issue, in my opinion. This is a severe issue. Because it means we are losing Illyria in the next expansion. In Midnight, at least, Illyria is probably going to become full-blown void. Is that a bad thing? Depends on how we view the void. It depends on what the void is, obviously. If the void is even bad, we would have to wait and see. Really want another Windrunner sister falling to the dark side, though? Again, it depends on if the void is actually the dark side. Because I am not as convinced as I once was. I am not as convinced as I once was. I still don't quite know what to make of everything. Because you have Iridicron. And Iridicron clearly does not want to kill everyone. He clearly does not want to destroy everyone. Iridicron clearly wants to kill the Titans. And based on the cinematic, at least, that we saw, so does Alatath. Their biggest issue appears to be the fucking Titans. I'm not sure if destroying Azeroth is their main focus. I think destroying the Titans is their main focus. Aston, he could be, but I'm not convinced of that. But he could be. It is possible. The fact is, the reason I think Locust Walker is serving the void is I don't think anyone is capable of resisting the void. I think at some point the void wins. I have a question around the Pantheon of the Void. We saw that the Titan split. Could there be a rift with him as well? TB, I mean, anything's possible. I don't know if all of the Pantheons would have split. That would be a little bit on the nose, because you have the Order Pantheon that split. You have the Death Pantheon that kind of split. And fuck knows where the Chaos Pantheon is. Or the Disorder Pantheon is. But maybe the Void is the one Pantheon that is together? I don't know. I genuinely don't. But yeah, the cinematic just sort of... when I heard these words, free me to find my own fate, it suggested that... Because I, for the longest time, thought that Xalatath was always the Harbinger. I thought that was literally what she was. She was placed inside the blade so that she could become the Harbinger at the right time. But clearly that's not the case. Free me to find my own fate. In other words, she went back to her masters, and her masters made her the Harbinger. It seems like the bargain between her and N'Zoth was never a long-term bargain. It was a simple bargain. She wanted to be free. N'Zoth wanted us. And so Xalatath delivered, right? Xalatath delivered on her side of the bargain, and so he freed her. But I think that is about the extent of them working together. In the Isle of Dawn? Maurice, no. What's the rumor there? It's possible the Pantheon used the domination split, another Titan soul, to make it pure, kind of like Kame and Demon King Piccolo. It is possible, Ronan. Is N'Zoth in the blade now? Stakadaka, no. I do think that the old gods have succumbed, but I don't think that the old gods can die. If I'm correct, and the old gods are indeed decay, they literally just returned to the realms of decay. And I think I know where the Titan prison of decay is, or as the Titans called them, the elemental planes. I think the elemental plane of decay is right below Brackenhide Hollow. Interesting, Aston. Very interesting. AJ, so I'm always very careful with runes. And it is important that people understand this. Runes are a language in World of Warcraft. All runes and all magic uses runes. Runes are magical. All magic uses runes. Foul magic uses runes. Arcane magic uses runes. Death magic uses runes. Runes are simply the language of magic. The same way math is the language of the universe, runes is the language of magic. The way you use those runes will determine the type of magic that it becomes. So if you look at the rune language of Foul, and you look at the rune language of Arcane, it's very similar. It uses similar types of runes. I believe the thing that influences it is the order of those runes. So, you know, if you have rune A, B, and C, in the order A, B, and C, it's an arcane spell. But if you have it C, A, B, it's a foul spell. If you have C, C, B, A, it's a death spell, right? So it literally just... the order of the runes is what determines the type of magic that you're about to cast, because you are quite literally just using the language of magic. So I think domination magic is literally the same thing. The Primus didn't invent domination magic in so much as he figured out a way to arrange the runes of magic in such a way that it would dominate the person on who the runes are used. No, but AJ, I mean, if that is what you're referring to, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because I made this video during Legion already, but my firmest belief is that Xal'atath was the blade, not the person, but Xal'atath was created by Sargeras. If you look at Xal'atath, the blade, not the person, it is of Titan design. It looks exactly like the weapons that Sargeras created. The Scythe of Ulthalesh, the Scepter of Sargeras, it has the same architecture, the same design and structure. It's the same blade. It comes from the same blacksmith. So I would not be surprised. So it's also not the first time that Sargeras has done this. There's a rogue, I can't remember her name now, but it's a rogue that worked for Sargeras, and Sargeras bestowed upon this rogue great power, but in order to ensure that this rogue would always be loyal to him, he gifted this rogue with 2 blades, and the blades literally enslaved this rogue to Sargeras. the rogue could do nothing but enact the will of Sargeras. Can't remember her name now, but yeah. So it's not as if domination is unknown to Sargeras. He knows how to use domination magic. I also believe that is why Sargeras knew what the Lich King armor was going to do. I still don't buy into the whole Sargeras and the Primus or the Jailer work together. I don't buy it. There's just too many holes in that theory for me. If you look at Sargeras, the biggest hole, I'll just cover this. The Nathrezim bring him the Helm of Domination and Frostmourne. And they tell him the Helm of Domination and Frostmourne will bring you victory over Azeroth. All you have to do is take one of your orcs or one of your generals, let them don the helm and the sword, and they will conquer Azeroth for you. Sargeras goes, fuck that. How about we take one of my orcs, we take Ner'zhul, skin him alive, take his soul, tie it to the helm, so he can't move, he can't betray us, and we send him through. That way, he has to do what we say, because, well, what else can he do? Why would he do that? Why would he send through a general that is just severely limited in what he can do? If not because he completely distrusted what the Nathrezim was telling him. It makes no sense. No, it wasn't Corona. Let me see if I can find it. Hold up. Let me see. It wasn't Corona. Hold up. I'm just looking for her. I can't remember her name. But I'm pretty sure she was Eridar. Fuck, man. I made a video about this not too long ago. Or like 6 or 7 months ago. But now that name has completely escaped me. Is it in here? Argus. It's this. I think it's the fangs of the Devourer. You extract the fangs and took them from great Organs and eventually created two of the deadliest weapons in the universe that ever known. Fangs of the Devourer. These daggers could twist the air and bend light, allowing their wielders to conceal themselves effortlessly. He presented the daggers to Sargeras, who was greatly pleased. It took time for Sargeras to find someone worthy of wielding the fangs of the Devourer. Loyalty was a concern. Skilled assassins are deceptive by nature. All too capable of betrayal, Sargeras would not abide the thought of Gormor's legacy falling into the hands of the Legion's enemies. Finally, Sargeras found someone suitable to carry these daggers into battle, an Eridar tracker named Akari. It is Akari. Had distinguished herself in several Legion invasions, silently murdering those who suspected that the demon's promises were laced with doom. She was summoned to Argus and told it would be a great honor being offered to her. Sargeras promised Akari that she would become a fearsome instrument of death, only one of the deadliest creatures known in the realm, but at a cost of her will. If she wanted to be a living weapon, betrayal would become impossible. It was a grim bargain, but Akari accepted. This is where you get it, right? clearly the blades had the ability to tie Akari to Sargeras as well. And eventually Sargeras allowed her great freedom. She started to explore the Twisting Nether, and she discovered secrets there. There's a whole thing there as well that we eventually have to dive into. Was the orange almost fire-like effect when he comes out of the Sunwell? Then he was green Fallen Legion. Sargeras entrusted an Aranasi named Blood Queen Tirana. It is not why he punished Gil'jaeden. Matthew, what do you mean? No. No, because we already know that nothing in the Burning Legion happened without Sargeras. The lore is pretty clear on that. So I don't believe that Gil'jaeden removed Ner'zhul's soul because, without Sargeras' know-how. I think Sargeras willed that. Sargeras wanted that. You can see, like, if you read Sargeras' lore, dude, this guy had serious trust issues. Like, if you're a girl and you're dating Sargeras, he's the kind of guy that will check your phone every 10 minutes. You'd have to share all of your passwords with him. There's no fucking shot that you're going out without him phoning you every 5 minutes going, where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? Take a picture of everyone with you now. That's him. Sargeras did not trust shit. So, the dude is, he's pretty crazy. Echo Blizzard keeps the zone hidden due to big lore implications, according to the rumor. Maurice, then I'm looking forward to that zone. He could try. He would probably succeed. He's much stronger than you, Wyfern. True, my point was Sargeras wasn't okay by twisting Ner'zhul's soul. Matthew, but that's not something we know. That would be your speculation. But the lore suggests that everything that happened in the Burning Legion happened because Sargeras willed it. The Burning Legion never acted without Sargeras' say-so. So, just based on the lore, I have to assume that Gil'jaeden removed Ner'zhul's soul because Sargeras told him to. Yeah, but Wyfern, do you really think Sargeras gives a fuck about you being cute? Ronan, so I want to be... I want people to at least keep an open mind about Sargeras. I know Pyro's speculation is that Sargeras is Anshe, and I've spoken to Pyro. I believe Pyro has incredible links that he draws between Anshe and Sargeras. But one of the things people often get very angry with me about is I just had this today in a comment from a viewer that got peeved at me because I dared to call Azeroth a Titan. And I had to explain to them, eventually they understood, they were actually pretty cool about it. But I had to explain to them that I don't build speculation on top of speculation. I hate doing that. So when I deal with a theory, and the theory has nothing to do with my original theories, I will use what we call the conventional wisdom or the understood lore. So, if we want to argue what is Sargeras, it's perfectly fine if we want to say Sargeras could be Anshe. I have no problem with that. But if I'm then going to have a speculation theory about a relationship that existed between Sargeras and the Primus, I am going to go off of the conventional wisdom, which is that Sargeras is a Titan, part of the Pantheon, and he wasn't Anshe. And I have to do that because if I speculate on top of speculation, it makes all of the speculation wrong if the original speculation isn't true. So I always try to go back to the conventional wisdom on my theories, and very rarely will you see me inserting speculations on top of speculations, because that's the quickest way of writing fan fiction. At some point, speculation becomes fan fiction. And I think when you're speculating using speculations, then you're just writing fan fiction at that point. There's nothing wrong with that. Good fan fiction is fucking good. But I don't write fan fiction. I prefer to do speculation. And for that, I have to go back to the conventional wisdom. Newell, I love that line. I hated Zuval, but I love that line. The Pantheon fucked up Sargeras, and once he learned about the betrayal and manipulation, he went nuclear on the Pantheon. Hey, Akko, did you notice that in the new Shadows Beneath cinematic, the flesh creature looks exactly like the blade of the Black Empire? No. Are you talking about the newest cinematic? Like the brand new one? Dude, I am so hyped for her story. Just FYI. I am so fucking hyped for her story. Because it seems like she is going to usher in one fuck off of a war. If I am correct about the Empire, it is going to be a war unlike anything we have ever fucking seen on Azeroth. So I am super excited for her. Her lore is insane, and her conversations with Anduin gets me very excited for what is to come. I should also talk about this. I guess this is just an analysis of the cinematic. So this race, from what I understand, now I have not played the War Within beta or alpha or any of that, but from what I understand, this race arrived shortly after the tree was destroyed, and their only thing is defending this tree. It is literally the only thing they do. They defend the tree. So they are either native to Azeroth, but from a land that we do not know about, or they don't even come from Azeroth at all. Because there's no lore, from what I understand, about them prior to the War Within. We meet them here, and they seem to be very mysterious. But they're very trolly. I believe that they are the ancestors of the trolls and the night elves, or the elves. I believe that they are the first. And that the reason we don't see them anywhere else on Azeroth is they were called by this great tree to defend it, connected to the land in some way, shape, or form. That's at least currently my belief system here. Because they look like trolls, but not... They look like a mismatch between troll and night elf. Is there between troll and elf? Aston, I don't agree. They look like the step before that. They look like the step before that. Plus, if they were the step between troll and night elf, we would have actual lore of them. Because we have lore of the trolls, and at least their earliest empire. we have lore of the Night Elves as they evolved from trolls into Night Elves. Why do we have nothing about these guys? So there must be some... like, we should have had some evidence of them. Someone must have spoken about them, right? In secret to protect World Tree roots. Then the problem is, who would have created them? So my theory has always been that the trolls were created by the old gods. My theory has always been that the trolls come from the old gods. And that the Night Elves was Elune interfering with that, saying, fuck that. I will not have you be the only ones with your own race. I will take your race, cleanse them, turn them into my people, and they will fight my fight for me. So you have the Haranir as the first original race, most likely from Azeroth herself, which is why they were pulled and dragged to the World Tree roots. Defenders of Azeroth. They are the original race created by Azeroth herself. They were corrupted by the old gods into trolls, some of them. That meant that the trolls then went about doing things for the old gods or serving the old gods. The Haranir left, went into Hallowfall to protect the roots, and the trolls continued on, and then you get the Night Elves. So that would be the link that I would have. I think trolls are a natural evolution of species on the planet. Aston, the problem with that is from where? From where? Again, that is... There's nothing in the lore that suggests that. Almost every species on Azeroth has an origin point, a created point by something. So I'm not sure if I would, in any way, shape, or form, I wouldn't shoot it down, just to be clear. I wouldn't say, no, they were never created, or they weren't natural. But I would say it's doubtful that they would be one of the few to naturally evolve on Azeroth. I don't think anyone naturally evolved. I don't think any of the races naturally evolved. I think there was interference with all of them. Either explicit interference, so someone actually just genuinely interfered, or implicit interference. Like the Wild of Eternity or the Ley Lines or something that interfered. In the case of the goblins, for example, we know that it was Kazumite that interfered with the goblins and made the goblins into goblins. So I think that almost every intelligent race on Azeroth has an interference story. Aston, okay, so again, I think you're taking liberties with... So it's perfectly fine if that is the theory that you want to hold on to. I'm okay with that, right? But everything you're saying right now is literally just you thinking it, right? Because there is literally zero evidence in World of Warcraft of that. Zero, right? So I wouldn't be... I'm not saying don't have that theory. It's a perfectly fine theory to have, but I would say keep an open mind that theory could be wrong, right? And that something else could also be true in that regard. There's no evidence that trolls were a manipulated race created by some entity. No, but that's why it's... But the trolls being manipulated is based on every other race being manipulated in some way, shape, or form. And so you would expect that if that's true for most races, it must be true for all of them, most likely. But again, Blizzard could come in and they could set the record straight if that is what they want to do. Dude, that is actually a little scary. I mean, we want it dark, and I would say that's dark. I mean, you want to talk about a very unsettling look. This is it, right? Off-topic question: do you think N'Zoth will have a presence in the War Within? No. I don't think so. I think the story of the old gods are pretty much done and dusted, at least for now. Although, if I am correct, and they are members of the K, they will probably show up again at some point. But I'm not sure. Unless, of course, they come from a different timeline, which is also possible. Gives me Terranet vibes. Just can't get into this trailer. I really want to be hyped. Token, I don't think that this trailer is meant to create hype. The trailer, as I said in my video, when did I make that video? 2 days ago? All of this feels like content for people that have already bought it, right? It feels like this is for fans of the game that are already fans of the game and is going to play the game. You are absolutely correct. It doesn't feel like Blizzard is focusing on the big hype trains anymore, and I think I kind of understand why. Blizzard have burnt their reputation to the ground with big hype cinematics that go super hard and then the game doesn't deliver at the same level. And I think if Dragonflight has taught us anything, it's that the slow and steady approach actually fucking works. If you look at the numbers for Dragonflight, it was super healthy, right? It was super healthy. The numbers were looking great. In fact, they were far better than Shadowlands and far better than Battle for Azeroth. And that was sort of deep into Dragonflight already. So I think Blizzard's approach now is much more, we'll just take it slow. We'll gain players over time. The saga is a long story. It's a story that's going to play out over multiple expansions. We don't have to hype up the player base. Just do a good, solid game, and the players will do the work. If there's anything that the last few years of gaming has taught me, it is that word of mouth is arguably the most incredible marketing tool that games have going for them. You think about the amount of games that became blockbusters as a result of Twitch. It's insane. Palworld, Twitch, YouTube, and X. Helldivers, Twitch, YouTube, and X. Baldur's Gate, Twitch, YouTube, and X. Word of mouth. You don't have to have big hype cinematics. You just need a solid game. And then they'll come. Among Us is another one. Completely word of mouth, right? Dude, I played I don't know what's it like. I don't know what the game is called, but it's basically Among Us, but a board game, card game kind of thing. You have everyone gets a card. Maybe some of you know this game. Everyone gets a card at the beginning of the game, and you're either a servant of King Arthur, or you're a minion of Mordok or some shit like that. Can't remember exactly now. And then someone is the assassin and someone is Merlin. And then, yeah, you play, you basically, the minions and the assassin work together to try and basically fool everyone. And then Merlin and the others work together to try and figure out who the assassins are. Merlin knows who the assassins are, but the assassins know who they are, but they don't know who Merlin is. So in the game, the assassin and the minions are trying to figure out who Merlin is. Everyone else is trying to figure out who the assassins are, because at the end of the game, the people who are alive, or the people who are the normal people, they have to vote who they think the assassin or the thieves are, the minions are. If they get it right, they win, right? You do these quests, and it's a whole thing. You do quests every single round, and everyone involved in the quest, you have 2-man quests, 3-man quests, 4-man quests. Everyone involved in the quest get 2 cards, a success card and a failure card. And if you're an assassin, you want to throw down a failure card, you do it anonymously, and then if there's one fail, the quest fails. And if you fail 3 quests, you lose the game automatically. If you succeed in 3 quests, you win the game, but then the assassin gets to kill Merlin. If the assassin kills Merlin, the assassin and the thieves win. If he kills the wrong person, then the other side wins. Avalon sounds familiar. Let's say it's Avalon. But it was crazy fun. I was at a barbecue with some friends. We were probably like, 9, 10 people playing it. It was super fun. It was like fucking crazy. We probably ended up playing for like 4 hours. Just into the night playing Among Us card game. It was super cool. Man is a wizard. If he gets murked by some lowly assassin, he failed. They have something like this in Magic the Gathering. Well, it's fun. I wanted to play Magic the Gathering, but 10 people Magic the Gathering would be a fuck up. So we decided not to even go there. But I think next time we're going to be fewer people, and I think we're going to play D&D. But yeah, it was super fun. Secret Hitler. Wow, what a fucking game. I played that game, can't remember the name. Akon, I'm curious as to what you think the crystal in New Old God mural is in War Within. I think it's Baladar and Hollowfall. So, Edward, I sort of thought that it was Baladar as well. But I'm also open to it not being Baladar and being some kind of replica of it. But from the looks of it, I feel like it's Baladar that was captured by the Void, by the Black Empire, and then imprisoned and used for their own devices. So they basically took the light magic and twisted it into their own thing. That's what I think that crystal is on the mural. But I think we're going to learn a lot more as the expansion plays out. Oh, Blizzard have already said, and this is actually something super exciting. Believe me, this is what I'm going to be doing for most of the time once the War Within goes live. Blizzard have said that they have purposefully started to employ what's the word? Environmental storytelling. Now, for those of you that don't know what it is, it's basically that bridge that I showed you in the beginning. This would be an example of environmental storytelling, right? Or this. Using the environment to explain world lore. But for you to do that, you have to pay attention to the world. So Blizzard have said that there's going to be giant spaces in the War Within that is mainly empty. Not many quests there. Doesn't look like there's much going on. Some mobs running around, but fucking nothing else. But in those moments, in those spaces, there's going to be a hell of a lot of story, world building that's taking place. And as players, they're looking forward to us discovering the secrets of the world through environmental storytelling, which I'm super excited for. Because they've always done this. It's not a new thing. There's always been some level of environmental storytelling in World of Warcraft. But the fact that that's now a focus, the fact that Blizzard is now sort of focusing on that excites me. Because it means that there's going to be a lot of fucking secrets to tap into in the War Within. And I'm absolutely here for it. The crystal is on the painting with the big chair and the maybe fifth old god on it. Yep. This could implement Roll 20 as a community feature. Oh, shit. So thanks to Chris. Edward Elric, I'm not entirely sure if it's just thanks to Chris. So I was recording a podcast this morning with Rurikon for Mythic Banter. I don't know if any of you know about this, but you should subscribe to that podcast if you care about sort of normal gaming lore and gaming discussions and gaming news and stuff. Head over to Mythic Banter. It's a new podcast that started, I think we're on episode 7 now of the podcast. It's weekly. You can go check that out. But I was on this podcast with Rurikon, and Rurikon made the point, and this is something I never even thought about. So if I were to ask you guys, why do you think layoffs is a bad thing in the gaming industry? What would be your first thought? Like, what would you think? Why is it bad? Why is it bad for these companies to just be laying off hundreds, if not thousands, of developers? Edward, I mean, that's not always true. Sometimes when you have, depending on the company that you're running, you could also end up in a position where you have too many people. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. And actually laying people off will increase productivity. So, that is definitely possible. So layoffs can be a good thing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, but there's something else, right, that I'd never even thought about that actually, I think, makes the case far better. Losing consistency, it damages morale among the team. Onboarding process is slow and you lose experienced professionals. You lose constitutional memory based off paying for mistakes of management. I firmly believe Blizzard can axe 80% of their workforce and still be okay. When I played WoW back in the day, I used to look at everything for things on walls and around places. Derp Souls is pretty much how I play WoW as well. Morale for main stuff, but yes, there are pros and cons. So when he mentioned this, I was like, bro. Because I should be clear. I am not against layoffs. I'm not against companies companying. I'm against greed that is unbridled, because unbridled greed has never been good for anyone. But I think there is such a thing as healthy greed. Pretty much every single human being has greed. The reason you go to work is because of greed. I had someone, this is a bit of a funny thing. I had a viewer, this is on my second channel, Akalon TV, but I had a viewer, and I made a video about the Mr. Beast drama on there. And this viewer said, I'm starting to think that all of these YouTubers are just making videos for views and not because they genuinely care about the situation. And I just responded to her and I said, I'm starting to think that you're only doing your job for a salary and you don't actually care for the business that you work at. And then I just said, you see how stupid that sounds? Because I was like, it's kind of my job is kind of to get fucking views. If I don't get views, like I don't get paid. So I do care about the views, but it is possible to care about views and also care about the topics that you cover, right? Which is why I don't cover everything. I just cover the shit that I care about. But when I cover it, I do want to get views. But anyways, that's not the point I'm trying to make here. I'm not against greed, because every single one of you, when you go to work, you're going to work because of greed. Let's be real. None of you are going to work because you want to help out your boss. If your boss came to you tomorrow and said, hey, so we're no longer going to pay you, we just want you to do your job out of the goodness of your heart, you'd be like, dude, go fuck yourself. I want money, bitch. Pay me my money, right? That's 100%. And that is greed. When you're helping an old lady across the street, you're most likely doing it because you want people to see what a good person you are. When you're giving to charity, you're doing it because you want to feel good about yourself. It's all greed, but that's good, right? Because it leads to other people being helped, which is a fucking good thing. I don't believe that people can do things without greed, so I don't mind greed, and I don't mind layoffs. I think it's perfectly fine if you lay people off that are just redundant. If you have a workforce that's 80% too many people, laying off 80% of your workforce is a good idea, because it means that you have room to grow in the future, and you're not going to fucking go bankrupt as a result of just an inflated fucking, salary pool. But what layoffs do in the gaming space, and this I never even entertained as a thought, you end up with developers making games not to make the best possible game that they can make, but making a game that at least won't lose players. And it's sort of like, when he said that, I was like, huh. Wait, but that's not wrong. I mean, if you look at the current gaming space and you look at how often games come out that just, I mean, they're not trying anything new. They're playing it super fucking safe. We're not pushing the needle in any direction. We're just doing what we know works. And you go, well, yeah, you don't want to be laid off, and taking risks have the downside of being fucking risky, and you could lose everything. And if you know that your CEO is sort of itchy on the fucking trigger finger of pulling the layoff gun, you're not going to take risks, because you could get fired. I hate the word layoffs, by the way, because it's just a nice way of saying fired. I think we should just call it fired. But, it's sort of like, that's why the gaming space is just filled with safe games. Because why would you risk losing your job if you could just make something safe and hopefully, you won't lose players? And that means that you keep your job. So yeah, when Rurikon mentioned this, I was like, holy shit. I never even entertained that thought. The knowledge, if your senior person leaves, that mentors the juniors, or that knowledge is gone, the philosophy and culture changes. It would, well, in that regard, I will just say, I don't think that really applies to layoffs, because most layoffs, at least legally, has to be first in or last in, first out. Right? So the reason why they call it legally layoffs is because there's a legal framework that governs how a layoff is allowed to happen. And layoffs has to be indiscriminate, and it has to be last in, first out. So this means by design, people who are laid off are not the people with the constitutional or the institutional knowledge. It's not the people that are the most advanced people in the company. It's usually, the interns and the, sort of people that you could probably replace on a dime anyways. Yeah, the grunts are usually the ones that's laid off. That's, of course, if the company is playing by the rules, which anyone who's ever met Bobby Kotick will know. Man doesn't always play by the fucking rules. And ironically, I miss Bobby. You fucking take that back, bro. Like, don't do that. No one misses Bobby Kotick. What are you even fucking talking about? Why are you missing Bobby Kotick? Like, dude, the world could come to an end tomorrow. And you could tell me Bobby Kotick can save us. And I'd be like, fuck it, bring the comets. I would rather be fucking hit by a comet than have Bobby Kotick anywhere near the levers of control. I do not like that guy at all. Man, he was just one of the worst things that could ever happen to Blizzard. ABK was in better hands with Bobby than Microsoft. The New World, I don't know about that. I mean, thus far, Microsoft doesn't seem to have done anything weird with Blizzard. We'll have to probably wait and see, but at least for the moment, it looks fine-ish, no? Oh, shit. Dude, did you just join? Oh, 34 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate ya. Thank you, sir. You're far too kind. Really appreciate you, Rothschild. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, we've already gone about 15 minutes, oh, well, actually 45 minutes almost longer than what I want to go on these podcasts. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go grab some food. I'm going to go chill for a bit, and then I'm going to go to bed because it's already fucking late and I have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I really appreciate all of you for coming out, for hanging out with me, for spending your Friday evening with me. I hope you had fun. And of course, to the American viewers that is still working, I hope I could have the workday pass a little bit faster for you. To everyone else, please have a wonderful weekend. As always, ladies and gentlemen, be good to each other. Be kind to each other. And I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.